Hunting is an expedition that draws international tourists in countries where it can be undertaken. Among the animal species that are targeted in hunting are the big cats, which are the tigers, the lions as well as the leopards. Today on News in Depth, we'll be looking at the recent move by government to lift the ban on the hunting of the big cats in Zambia. We'll be talking to various stakeholders on this very interesting subject. My name is Pennipher, welcoming you to this presentation of News in Depth. In May this year, Tourism Minister Jean Kapata announced government's decision to lift the ban on the hunting of the big cats in Zambia. The decision attracted international attention as it has certain permutations on the conservation of big cats vis-à-vis the social and economic benefits. The ban was put in effect in 2013 on the basis that existing regulation supervising hunting was not effective, and because of this, the wildlife population faced a greater threat from poaching and other illegal activities.
Zambia has always hunted for cats. We've always hunted cats from time immemorial. And in 2013, when it was stopped, it was because the regulations which were in place were not, they were quite weak. And the minister then thought she should put up a ban so that to come up with modalities on how people were going to start the hunting. And after we saw it fit that now, as a country, we are ready to start again hunting, we lifted it up.
Hunting is a practice that has existed for many years. It involves the use of different machinery to pursue, trap, and eventually kill targeted animals. Reasons for hunting vary from place to place and sometimes cultural practices where it is done. With time, hunting has been found to be a revenue-generating practice, bringing international visitors to countries where it is authorized. Interestingly, hunters pay a good price to kill certain animal species, hence they invest heavily in the activity. What is even more interesting is related to the hunting of members of the big cat family, which include the tiger, lion, jaguar, cheetah, and leopard. Hunting wildlife or feral animals is most commonly done by humans for food, recreation, or trade. However, hunters mostly endeavor in their careers to hunt this most prized animal for one major reason: pride.
First of all, it's hunted because of it's a trophy. A trophy is where you get the actual skin of the animal and also the head, and you mount it in the house. Others, they put it in the offices. Others, even at their gate when you're entering to their homes. So mostly it's because of the pride. A lion is a pride, and it's meant, mostly the people that hunt are those with money, the rich people, to show their wealth and also their power in terms of strength.
Hunting lions and other big cats is a normal practice. Neither is it new to Zambia. But of what use is a dead lion or leopard?
First of all, they sell them as trophies. Through their skins. I'm told also their bones are medicinal. If it comes to China, they make a medicine out of it. The nails, the teeth, everything on the lion sells, and therefore it fetches a lot of money, and to the advantage of the communities where these lions are.
Some people would want to have that trophy and keep it in their houses and treasure it for a long time. Okay? There are other people that use the same trophies to go and auction them. Sometimes it's a sport. People would want to have certain products that they can keep. At the same time, there is also the issue of value adding at a certain level.
The Zambia Wildlife Authority is also aware that the most sought-after animal in hunting escapades is widely used for what is known as trophy display.
When you kill a lion, you mount the trophy, and you can even put it on display. So it's something like, for example, what this is doing, it's adding beauty to the office. This is a mounted guinea fowl. So likewise, the lion, you can put it on display.
Big cat trophies are seen in the form of a head displayed on the wall, a rug by the fire, or a photograph of the hunter with his prize. Conservationists find this act to be despicable, regardless of the species involved. Conservationists are of the view that trophy hunting is primitive in this day and age. Nevertheless, there has been increasing demand for the big cats globally, as the Policy Monitoring and Research Center, PMRC, has observed.
We found as PMRC that there is growing demand, there is high demand for trophy hunting, and this demand obviously is growing as well. If you look at the statistics in the region or the continent as a whole generates on average $200 million from hunting. So we feel that given the demand and given the state where we're at, it's something that can be managed and it can be sustainable, but obviously there are measures that need to be put in place.
While the monetary and social gains are a plus for countries that authorize hunting, an aspect emerging prominent in the concerns raised has everything to do with conserving the big cat population, whose numbers are reducing at a swift rate. The World Wildlife Fund has been tracking the big cat population across the globe, and it has observed a depreciating trend in the last 30 years.
The lion population globally has actually been reducing. Okay, in Africa, the lion population has reduced. We had something like 36,000 way back in the 1980s, but now we are remaining with less than about an estimation of about 24,000 across the whole of Africa. Okay, so the population is actually reducing.
Many factors have contributed to the decline in the big cat population. WWF has taken stock of some of these factors.
As the human population is increasing, we are pushing wildlife or other animals into smaller and smaller places. Okay, so once the population of human beings is increasing, we want more land for ourselves. Therefore, we push other species to we confine them into smaller places. So as a result, they're not able to reproduce efficiently. Secondly, there's also what is called the persecution. When you hear of a lion, supposing a lion comes into town today, you want it dead because it will injure people. Okay, so some animals are being killed because of persecution.
With the change in the Zambian policy authorizing the hunting of the big cats beginning in the 2016-2017 hunting season, interest is drawn to establishing the population size of this animal species in the country. Zawa manages the wildlife industry and has the most sought-after figures.
Population, we have an estimate of between 1,500 and 2,500, and that is based on the assumption that that is the barest minimum that we do have. That is the worst case scenario. So we want to be conservative in the way we are coming up with these particular animal populations, and so that when we come up with quotas, we take note of the worst case scenario, so that when we come up with quotas for hunting of lions, we do not over exaggerate. For the leopard, we do have healthy numbers. I think even the time there was a ban, the focus was more on the lion. So for leopard, we have approximately around the number of 4,000 leopards in the country.
The issue of the big cat population in Zambia is a matter of concern.
We do not have sufficient data to tell you that we have X number of lions or we have X number of leopards, because these species are species that require long-term studies for you to get what we call proxy indicators of their populations. You can only get estimates. You might not know the actual exact number. But I can comfortably tell you that we are working with over 150 known lions in the Luangwa. Okay? And we're also working with over 40 lions, known lions in the Kafue.
We're also calling for, at some point, an actual census of the cat population so that we have more grounded information and, people's concerns are put to ease.
Government is nonetheless satisfied that the big cat population is not in the lowest of rates as reported in some quarters.
We have more than, the lions are more than 2,000 plus, and the leopards are double that number. And we didn't do an aerial survey because aerial survey are only done for these other species. For the lions and for the cats, the general term for the cats, the survey is done differently.
Government has also been advised to consider conducting a census to have better estimates on the big cat population. But this is not an easy undertaking.
Counting cats is not as easy as counting these big mammals like antelopes, where you can go through, where you can count animals through an aerial survey or something like that. Counting cats is more discreet. I think it is done through many ways. We have our officers who go out on patrols and who give us feedback in terms of what they are seeing on the ground. And they are always indicating the GPS locations on their sightings. We also have running researches that are going on, being conducted by the Zambia Carnivore program, and the like. And these are people that have been there, and we are working in collaboration with them.
Sustainability in the management, as well as harvesting of the big cats, is a matter of concern for the World Wildlife Fund for Nature.
If you are able to use a species for the improvement of its habitat or for its own conservation, and also for the upliftment of people's livelihoods or standards of living, and at the same time do not crush that species, then WWF supports that kind of use. Okay, we are one of the organizations that had actually raised a flag to say we are having a problem with the lion population because of the current, the studies that have been conducted by our partners.
But what kind of lions and leopards are targeted for these hunting adventures?
The guidelines indicate that there is no hunting of underage lions, and only the lions that are above 6 years will be hunted. And that way, the studies have been conducted in this particular field which indicate that a lion, once it reaches 6 years and is above 6 years, usually are kicked out of prides. And these are the lone lions that will be targeted, and not lions that are within a pride. So if a lion is within a pride, I think those are lions that won't be hunted. And these guidelines are very clear on that particular score.
The price of a hunting license equally varies from country to country. A hunter granted authority to hunt in Zambia and other countries in the region has to pay a minimum of license fees that can fetch for about $10,000 US. The Zambian hunting packages are inclusive of other kinds of animal species which are grouped in packages. That would mean a hunter would not only hunt a lion, but an impala, buffalo and others listed in that package. Government affirms commitment to ensuring that no underage lions are hunted.
We are looking at bigger cats, not a cat that is below 5 years. And it's done under the supervision of ZAWA. And these lions, if left for a long time, these are the lions that come to eat human, and then they create human-animal conflict.
The lone lions, these are the lions that usually attack villages and have made permanent residences in some of the villages and are causing havoc by eating cattle for the local communities. And that has proved to be a challenge because once there's that human-wildlife conflict, we do not compensate as an authority.
Analysts emphasize that the rules pertaining to safeguarding younger animals should be effectively implemented.
No lion under the age of 5 should be hunted. And if a hunter or a safari operator hunts a lion that is less than 5 years or less than 4 years, then that hunter should be penalized. The following year, he should not be able to get a lion on quota. But if a hunter gets a lion that is in the age 6 years and above or 7 years, then he can get a plus, because he's first of all getting good trophy animals, but at the same time he's getting animals that have passed their reproductive stage.
Penalties are being recommended against those that do not comply with these regulations.
And those that are not hunting the right aged animals should actually be penalized. And I think government has got an opportunity here to implement these measures, because we are actually coming out of a ban, and the ban was actually to facilitate measures to be put in place so that we are able to conduct sustainable harvesting.
Seeing as the underage factor is another crucial aspect to this big card argument, we took interest in understanding the distinct elements on the king of the jungle, the lion. This was more to understand features that can help one identify lions older than the age of 5.
Yeah, an older lion, first is the teeth. The canines drop, and this is why when they are old, they become solitary. Why they become solitary is that in a pride of lions, once an adult male, which is dominant, becomes old, there is fight within the pride, and once the sub-adult male are able to actually challenge the older male or a female lion, it's chased away from the pride and it becomes solitary, and at that stage it's able to attack human beings. It's also able to attack small animals and also able to feed on tortoises. Yeah, that's how you are able to identify the older lion. Color of their skin as well. When you look at the lions that we have, they've got a light brown color, but once it becomes very old, it turns into a dark brown color. And also the skin becomes very weak, in the sense that it becomes vulnerable to a lot of attacks in terms of flies. You mostly see their skin having sores, because these cats during rain season, their skin becomes softer. So when it's actually very old, it becomes worse.
The revised guidelines monitor the hunting procedure from tendering to the actual hunting outings, adding that the Anti-Corruption Commission has also been brought on board.
We have guidelines that have been set up by ZAWA themselves, and also we have a committee. And this committee, it comprises of people, stakeholders from different walks of life, people who are interested in conservation, people who are interested in tourism, and also the anti-corruption are part of that committee. So the ministry itself is not a member of that committee. We do not sit on that committee. We've left it totally 100% to ZAWA to deal with the matter.
The wildlife management will also enhance monitoring during the hunting excursions.
Previously, what used to happen was that when a hunting party goes out, there used to be a scout that used to accompany them. It can be a village scout, a wildlife police officer. But now in the guidelines that have been revised, we have stated that there's a certain rank that will be accompanying people who are going out hunting, especially people who are going to be hunting the big cats, from the rank of senior wildlife police officer, because we expect that these are people that are mature, that will ensure that the right thing is done and they won't be easily compromised.
Having observed cartels in the hunting industry at the time of the 2013 hunting ban implementation, government says such unfair trading acts will not be tolerated this time around.
I'm aware that there are cartels in the hunting system, but what we've done as a ministry, we are not going to entertain them, and we've had ZPP here coming in to assist the ministry through ZAWA. I want to mention that the ministry itself, we have not been involved. The minister has not been involved in all these concessions in the tendering of the concessions, because we didn't want to be involved. First of all, we wanted ZAWA to be independently deal with the issue, and ZAWA were able to deal with the issue without the interference of the ministry.
It is further anticipated that authorizing hunting of the big cats will have immense benefits for Zambians through growth of the tourism industry.
We welcome the move by government to lift the ban on safari hunting of cats, because it will make safari hunting competitive as part of the businesses that can be done in the in the game management areas that we have in Zambia. Okay, so it will make wildlife-based economies more competitive, but it has to be done sustainably.
Trophy hunting has been a successful undertaking in other countries, like South Africa, raking in huge sums of revenue.
South Africa in 2010 recorded having earned approximately 120 million US dollars from trophy hunting, and less amounts were recorded for countries such as Namibia, Botswana, and Zimbabwe. And we feel that this is something that can be managed sustainably, you know. It can be managed in a sustainable manner. There are measures that can be put in place to ensure that there isn't a conflict between the communities, the local communities, as well as conservation, and also that you can sustain the actual cat population.
Government believes that the country will once again become a more competitive tourist destination.
They know that if Zambia opens up, lifts the ban, most of the hunters especially the hunters that are coming from the west, will come to Zambia. Meaning these our neighboring countries will lose. Some of them are like they will lose business because people will come into Zambia. Some of these people in our neighboring countries, the hunting is just done at a farm, in a place like a farm. And in Zambia, hunting is very exciting because we have vast land and vast GMAs where people come and hunt.
Part of the reason cited in the authorization of hunting is safeguarding human life, given the increased cases of human-wildlife conflicts, especially for people living closer to game management areas.
Once a lion is moved out of its pride, it's unable to find food to eat, because the lioness is the one that hunts. And therefore the bigger male lion, once they leave the pride, their target becomes human beings and the cattle. So these are the lions that we are looking, these are the lions that we are hunting.
How widespread are these animal-people conflicts?
Human-wildlife conflict exists wherever wildlife lives side by side with people. Okay? Now, instead of you killing an elephant or killing a lion, because we also harvest some elephants under CITES quotas, instead of you killing an elephant just to control it because it has grazed maybe a quarter of a hectare for someone, it's better that such an elephant can be hunted as a trophy, because if it's hunted as a trophy, it's going to bring you revenues for that community.
Besides the residents in such locations being guaranteed of safety, empowerment plans are also in place for them.
We've lifted the ban on hunting just to make sure that our communities are empowered. I have a lot of letters coming from communities where the GMAs and the hunting blocks are complaining of poverty, because then their livelihood was better. But from the time the ban was put into place, people have suffered a lot. And for this reason, we said, why shouldn't we empower our own people? And I want to refute the assertion made by one of an opposition leader that the government is broke. That's why we decided to lift the ban. It's not that the government, no money is going to the treasury. The money remains within that community and not the treasury, and not government treasury.
PMRC Executive Director Bernadette Decker is optimistic that people living in such communities will be empowered through hunting.
If the cats that are hunted in this area Okay, the revenue is brought back to the community, and there's a community-led initiative that will also create employment as a way of giving back to the community. And also the people in that community will be very much interested in the development of this venture. Also, the issues of poaching comes in. So the local people will be very, very much alert, and they'll want to protect this, this venture because they will feel as though they are part of. So I think that's one way of helping the community through this trophy hunting exercise.
In order to see this move succeed, the stakeholders have recommendations for the state.
The government must adopt models from other countries that are currently undertaking this exercise, so that they can compare which ones that can work for Zambia. Okay, and secondly, PMRC urges government to develop a formalized set of criteria and indicators that will effectively monitor hunting practices within the respective blocks.
Then we would also want a transparent monitoring system. The monitoring system should start with the hunter. We must make sure that the hunters are very open in the way they report their hunts, and at the same time there should be a special committee that should be set up to make sure that all these animals that are hunted are within the right age.
It's something that we shouldn't shy away from, but it's something that we should look at critically and embrace, but obviously embrace with caution and ensure that it's done in a sustainable and effective manner so that the resources generated from this venture actually go to benefiting the country and the local communities ultimately.
Lifting of the ban on hunting big cats follows the government's introduction of stringent measures to guide the hunting process, as before 2013, the laws that were guiding the hunting process were inadequate to protect the cats, but now it will be easy to regulate the process and only allow for few cats to be killed. However, hunting big cats remains a subject that is more of a tug of war between those that are for and against the activity, depending on which side of the fence they stand. What is nonetheless clear is the need for a balance between social and economic interests and those related to the conservation of nature. Here is where we end this week's presentation of News in Depth. We've been looking at the recent policy shift where government has lifted the ban on the hunting of the big cats in Zambia. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Pennipher, saying goodbye and God bless you.